Okay, so apart from opening up the airbox a bit to get better airflow, I also adjusted the carburetor. Now, this may depend on your elevation. Here we're at about 2,300 meters. That's about 7,800 feet. So your results may vary depending on your elevation here. So we're going to take off well, we're not going to remove the tank. We're just going to undo this bolt here. So we've got a 12 millimeter socket to undo this real quick. Okay, so we've got that off. You don't have to remove that, but the reason we're doing that is so that we can get access to the carburetor here. So what we're going to do is we're going to unscrew this right here. So counterclockwise, you can do it with your hand to unscrew it. This is where the throttle cable connects to this. There's a spring inside, and that connects straight to the needle and slide assembly. To get it out, we just gotta lift the tank up a little bit. Oh, there it goes. And oh, it doesn't want to come out. There it is. So just like that. That's why we undid that bolt. So what you're left with is this. Here is the slide and here's the needle. Now, this is what I did. I actually dropped the needle. Initially I thought I would have to raise the needle because I'm getting more air. I thought I'd need more fuel. But apparently the needle was too high to begin with. I dropped the needle to lean out the mixture. That's the word I was looking for. I dropped the needle to lean out the mixture, and I'll show you how I did that. So, okay, so to remove this spring, it's actually very, very simple. You're just going to pull it down here, and kind of like a keychain, you're just going to find where it separates here, open that up with your fingernail and stick it through the cable. And after that, you just got to kind of twist it, and after a bit of twisting, you're done. So keep that, don't lose it. Now here's the cable, the throttle cable. And so how we're going to do this is we're just going to push the slide up, and then this part comes out, just like that. Very simple. Okay, so we have the slide and needle here together. Inside here you can see a little clip that holds the needle in place. So here, we're going to put our hand just like that so we don't lose the clip, and just push the needle down, and that leaves you with the clip in your hand. Don't lose that, you need it. So we'll set that down here, and here we have the needle. Okay, now I've got a little plastic shim in there that I've made, but I'll explain that in a second. So here's the needle assembly. This is a little clip. Stock, at least mine came stock in the middle, with the clip in the middle position. I don't know how well you can see that on the video, but there are 5 little grooves there, 5 positions there. So to remove the clip, it's very easy. You can just put it up against a hard surface and push against it like that. And that kind of unclips it, and bam. There it is. So you can see the needle with 5 spaces there. I've experimented with a few different positions. I moved the clip all the way to the top position, dropping the needle completely, and it had great response off the throttle once the engine was warm, but the cold starts were a nightmare. It took forever to warm up, and it didn't work too well. So I found compromise. We're just going to push the needle back on like that. Oh, a little bit more. Helps maybe if you put it against something hard again. Okay, there you go. You'll hear it kind of snap, and you can see what it's like when it's all the way in there. Okay, so after some experimenting, here's what I did, and this seemed to get the best results for me at my altitude. To find a kind of in-between position, kind of in between the different clip positions, I made this plastic, kind of plastic ring here out of a, just a lid from like a soda bottle. And it comes in here, slides in like that, and if you'll notice, it kind of puts it in between the clip positions, so that seemed to be a pretty good position there for me. So you're going to want to experiment with different clip positions. If you might try shim to find kind of the optimal place, but it's going to depend on your altitude, but play with it and see what works for you. Okay, so that's pretty much all I did with the carburetor, nothing super fancy. I didn't mess with the mixture on the pilot screw, kept that pretty much the same, and it works pretty well. So we're going to put this back together. So we've got the clip at the top position with this little spacer here to kind of give it in between the clip positions. We just slide that in like that. We're good. And then we take this clip right here. So when you get the clip in there, you want to put that kind of like the curve of the U shape in there. Put that down in there first, and then you stick your finger in and push the other two parts down. There's one part down. Okay, let's push the other one down, and super easy. Just like that. So you want to get the U-shaped, the curve of the U in there, down inside first, and then push the other two sides down. Okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to put the throttle cable back on. So we just take the cable, go from the inside of the slide, put it right in that hole, slide it down here, and we're good, just like that. Okay, now to put the spring back on. So to put this on, it's pretty simple. The same way you took it off, kind of like a key ring, just stick it in like that, and we just start twisting it to get it on. Do be careful, there's a little O-ring in here. You don't want to accidentally knock that O-ring out when you're twisting the spring. If you don't have that O-ring in there, it's not going to seal well, and your carburetor might not work. So
just keep twisting it, keep twisting it, keep twisting. Oh, wrong direction. That's not it yet. Hold on. Did we get it? Almost. A little bit further. Alright, so there you can see it's all the way in. The O-ring is still there, so it should seal.
okay, so now we're going to put the whole thing back inside. You notice this right here, this is the idle adjustment, so that slides right in with this screw. So this curved part is going to go toward the intake right here, and this slot, notice there's only one on one side, this slot is going to go with this screw, so it only goes in one way. So we just lift up the fuel tank, stick it in there, make sure we're going the right direction. Right, we got that in there. Might have to play with it a little bit so it'll go down. Make sure you've got it lined up correctly. And there it goes. So we drop the tank back down, come down under here, and you just screw it on. And all you can see, screw that on with your hands. You don't need to use tools on this to tighten this. Just tighten it by hand, otherwise you might get it too tight. It does not need to be that tight. So there's that, and we're done with the carburetor. Okay, so now we're going to put the tank back together. Well, put the bolt back on. So there's a rubber washer, this thing, whatever it is. So the tank just goes in like that. this thing goes inside the rubber, just like that, and try to center this rubber washer over it and tighten it down. So you're just going to put the airbox back together the same way you took it apart. Make sure that you don't over tighten the screws. They don't have to be super tight. And don't forget to put that hose back on. I'm not sure what it's there for, but go ahead and put it back on. Okay, so an extra effect of opening up the airbox that I was unaware of before I did it was that it changes the sound of the engine a little bit. So it requires a little bit of choke with the needle position that I've got going on. So I wasn't intending to make it louder or anything when I did this. I just wanted to give it extra power, but it did make it a little bit louder. Gave it a little bit of a lower note. I kind of like it. It's not too loud, so it's fine. Okay, so to put the seat back on, it's pretty simple. You've got this little thing right here. You can see that slides in right under here, underneath this metal bracket. So you also have these two that are going to go down here in between the tube of the frame right here and in between the plastic. So in between the tube and the plastic. So okay, so to put it on, you just stick it on like this. Make sure these metal tabs are going where they need to go. Might have to guide them a little bit to get them there. There it is, okay? So you get those metal tabs in. You're going to want to push down here gently and then push this forward. Go. So sometimes these metal tabs get stuck and you kind of have to move them out of the way. So push that forward, that way the mechanism's engaged there where it'll stay put. And then you just put the bolts back in and you're done. What's that, Dante? You say they should subscribe? You can't resist the cuteness. Okay, let's try that again.